This is the no Speedlight version of Exercise06. So if you have a Speedlight, which my spokesmodel here will demonstrate, I'm going to take out the Speedlight. Speedlight, right, goes into the top of your camera in the hot shoe. If you don't have one of those, you should be doing this instead. If you do have one of these, fuck you doing? Go do the other one. Come on, Jesus. Okay, so you will need to have two light sources and only two light sources, right? So right now I've got some house lights up in here. That's not good, right? I want to have two light sources only. That means block out or turn off any other source of light, or that your light sources should be so much brighter than whatever the other source of light is that it is rendered essentially irrelevant, right? So if you turn off your two lights, it's black. For part A, you will need the lights to be the same color temperature, so keep that in mind when you're figuring out what lights you want to use. They'll need to be on a stand of some sort, right? Here is a light stand. Hannah, do you want to hold our light stand for our audience? Right? It's beautiful. If you don't have a light stand, you can clamp it on, thank you. Clamp it on a bookcase, clamp it on a door, tape it to a wall, tape it to something, have somebody hold it. Any number of things, but you need to be able to move it around and have it be up off the ground. You need your meter so that you can figure out how bright things are. You need to balance your key light and your fill light, right? So your main light source and whatever your secondary light source is needs to be from at least like sort of torso, waist level, whatever, and try to have it not be a terrible picture. I may not achieve that here, but I don't need to get a good grade because I am teaching the class. All right, so you'll shoot 3 images. First one, your good image, properly exposed with 2 light sources balanced and the same color. So I'm going to be using as my key light this marvelous clip lamp. Right, got it from a hardware store, has a LED in it, and that LED, I guess we'll find out what color balance it is. 2700K. So what is 2700K? I don't remember. So we'll find out together. All right, so I'm going to put this on my light stand. Ta-da! Right, it's a little wobbly. So since it's a little wobbly, I'm going to go ahead and use a super professional thing. I'm going to tape a big old ball of tape on there. Tape, 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 tape. Wow, look at that. Okay. Tighten that screw a little bit. Boing. All right, I'm going to turn off my house lights. And now I'm going to meter for my key light. All right, so I've set my ISO to match what I've got in my camera, and I'm getting at an 80th of a second. I'm around 6.3. So let's go ahead and I'm going to set first. I'm going to set my okay, that's correct. Tungsten, that's good. ISO is 800, same as my meter. 80th of a second and 6.3. Let's try that one. Check that one more time and move it over a little bit. Let's give me a little darker. All right. So it's telling me now 4.5. All right, so Hannah, can you look over here? Okay, so that exposure seems okay. It seems a little on the warm side, but I have a feeling that's probably just my eyes acclimating to the space. Sorry, space in here. Now I need to bring in my fill light. Now my fill light in this case is an LED panel, right, which is great because it's dimmable. And I can also change the color temperature on it. If you don't have something like that, right, you just want to make sure that it matches the color temperature of whatever my main light source is. If I had something that was too blue, I could use orange gel. If I had something that was too orange, I can use blue gel. Right, probably easier in this case to just try and make sure the things are the same damn color. So that's incandescent. I'm going to go ahead and warm my color temperature up. And I'm going to now meter off that side. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my house lights. You can tell already that is not the same exposure. Okay. That doesn't render exactly the same because the position is not the same. Now that looks pretty close. So I will go ahead and take a picture. And that is giving me, right, that's pretty, oh, sorry, Hannah, can you face forward? That seems pretty even. I would say that the fill side is maybe a little bit brighter. Turn it down a notch and try it again. That looks pretty good. My color, I would say, does not seem the same. It seems a little bit too warm on the key light side. Right, I could try bringing in something over there to make it bluer, and then bluering this guy up a little bit. But in general, right, as long as I can get my lights to be roughly the same, right, if I can start out with two of the same kind of light, then we will be fine, right? Okay, so that was part A, right, assuming I was able to overcome that color issue that I was having right there, which again, you should do, because come on. B, the same setup with your fill light half as bright as your key, right? So here my key light is this continuous tungsten, right? I can make it half as bright by just turning the LED light down. If I wanted to do that, right? So let's see, we had, if I want to like actually quantify that, all right, so what do we have over here? I'm now reading F5 over there. Oh, it's because my house lights are on. Don't make that same mistake. Okay, so F4.5. If I want the other side to be half as bright, that means that I would want to let in twice as much light to get the same exposure, meaning that I would go from 4.5 to, I don't know, around 2, something like that. So let's try that. Okay. So now I'll go ahead and try a picture with that. Okay, so now I've got the two images on there for part A and part B. My fill light is half as bright as my key. If you don't have the ability to dim, right, and that is totally understandable, how can you change how bright it is? Well, you can move it farther away, right? If I move my fill light farther away, remember the inverse square law. If you're like, what is that? That's why we have Google. So inverse square law to make that side half as bright, that would be one option. If you don't have the space to back it up, right, you can move the other one in, right? You can move your key light in. That will make your key light brighter, right? You adjust your exposure again so that your key light exposure is correct. And if you've made your key light twice as bright by moving it closer, and then adjusted your exposure for that key light so that it is now whatever your meter says it should be, the fill side will now be half as bright, right? So either we make the fill side dimmer and leave our exposure the same, or we make the key side brighter, right? Which makes the key side is now brighter and the fill side has stayed the same. The fill side is relative to the key light. The fill side is now relatively dimmer, right? Because this got brighter and this didn't change. and we just adjust our exposure to make that key light sort of proper exposure in the camera. So either way, those are two strategies for getting that difference. And then the third one is the same setup but with my fill light a radically different color from my key light. Now you can do this in a bunch of ways. In the ratchet lighting demo, I do some stuff with Tupperware lids. All of those things are cool. I'm going to go ahead and do it with a gel because I happen to have one handy rather than a Tupperware. All right, so the gel that I have happens to be green. And you can gel either your key light or your fill light. It doesn't particularly matter to me. I'm going to go ahead and, because my gel is not that big, I'm going to go ahead and gel my key light. All right, marvelous. Now that's going to make everything darker. So go ahead and meter again. All right, so that's down at 2.8. Oops, sorry, house lights again. 1.8. All right, that's not enough. Bring that in closer. 2.5, 2.2. All right, my lens doesn't go that low, so I'm going to go ahead and up my ISO to 1600. 3.2, still not good enough. Okay, so 4.0 at 1600, and I'll meter this side and get it to be the same. Okay. So now I have similar exposure on both sides. Just need to adjust my ISO on my camera. Okay. If my model could pay attention, please. Okay. So there you go. Those are parts A, B, and C, right? Where part A is even exposure on both sides, same color balance, whole thing. Part B is your fill, right? Your ambient being half as much, i.e. half as bright. And then the third one, right, going back to even illumination, but changing the color. I used a radical color shift using a green gel. If you don't have a green gel, right, and who among us does, Tupperware containers, piece of fabric, right, if you're using fabric or a Tupperware container, make sure that you're not going to like set it on fire by using a hot light. This is an LED, it's fine. And make sure you do a lighting diagram, right? Lighting diagram is going to be, you can either do it by hand, right? Indicate lighting position, elevation, brightness, that kind of thing, sort of relative brightness, right? +1 stop, -1 stop, whatever. Position of your subject, and anything else? Can't think of anything else. There's online ones where you can sort of move things around, fill them out that way, right? If you don't know of one, again, Google. Or you can write it down on a piece of paper, draw it out, and take a photograph. So yeah, there is exercise 6. Once you've done that, if you've met with me, you are free to go do whatever it is you do, and have a good break and get ready to, or get started, sorry, on your environmental portrait assignment. All right, cool.
I'm the Grinch.
Hi, Grinch. Oh, you are. High five. Good job, Grinch.